Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, the Climate Leadership Commitments Reporting Guidance. My name is Gabriela Bocio, and I am the Communications and Education Manager at Second Nature. Today, we will hear from Jana Cohen-Rosenthal, Director of Climate Programs, and Steve Muzzy, Senior Manager of Climate Programs. At the end, we will have 20 minutes for questions and answers. Please remember you can submit questions for your Q&A at any time using the questions function on your GoToWebinar panel. This webinar will be recorded, and the recording and the slides will be shared in the days following this presentation. Thank you to all of our corporate sponsors who make so much of our work possible and with whom we partner to provide more resources and more opportunities for all of our signatories. We wanted to let you know that we have had some recent webinars that you may be interested in. Some of them cover recent resources and great ways to implement your commitments, and some of them are an overview of all the recent changes. We also wanted to let you know that there is an upcoming webinar that focuses completely on greenhouse gas inventories and any questions about how to plan, organize, and submit those greenhouse gas inventories. So if you have any questions today that are very specific to that topic, you might want to register for this webinar. And now I'm going to leave you with Jana.
Hello, this is Jana Cohen-Rosenthal. Welcome to the webinar. Today we're going to give an overview of the climate leadership commitment, an overview of the reporting timelines for each commitment, including reporting content and guidance, and also the intentions behind some of these timelines, and the overview of the report to do for the next 2 years, as well as reporting system updates and the process of which we're going to be conducting those updates. At the end, we'll take some questions and answers. We have worked really hard to address all of the pre-registered questions in our presentation, but if new questions or specific situations for your campus come up, we're very happy to address them all together. So first, I wanted to just give an overview of the climate leadership commitments. Advance to the next slide, please. On October 5th, Second Nature launched the Climate Leadership Network, including renaming the ACU PCC to the Carbon Commitment and introducing resilience in the Climate Commitment and the Resilience Commitment. The intention of the relaunch was to mature the commitments and keep making climate leadership an important and useful tool for action on your campus and community through commitments. So, the next slide, please. You can see how the old structure of Second Nature and the ACPCC was formed, and now in the new structure there is the Climate Leadership Network that's maintained by Second Nature, and each commitment is a part of that network. All of the commitments require significant leadership and require effort and coordination around campus. They have some similar timelines and reporting outcomes, and they're designed to meet goals that you want to reach on your campus and best practices that we've seen change over the last about 10 years of campus sustainability work across the network. So Steve Muzzy will now discuss the reporting requirements and the future process for reporting for each of the commitments.
Thank you, Jana. Hello, everyone. We're going to start with the carbon commitment, as it comprises most of the climate leadership network. And just want to take this time, this moment, to state that the commitment to carbon neutrality remains an incredibly important catalyst for driving campus climate action. So the biggest difference is the name change from ACU PCC to carbon commitment. And some signatories have asked if re-signing the commitment is required. The short answer is no. However, institutions are welcome to re-sign, especially if your institution has a change in leadership. So this is not uncommon. It definitely has happened under the ACU PCC. If you're interested in re-signing, please contact us and we can discuss that process. So going beyond the change in name, the updates to the carbon commitment reporting include the following. We have updated the implementation profile report. Should note here that the implementation profile report is the same for all 3 climate leadership commitments. So digging into some of the changes, updates under this report are, and this would be for former signatories to the ACU PCC, there were tangible actions. There were 7 tangible actions. We asked you to select at least 2. Those have been removed from the implementation profile report. We've archived each institution's selected tangible actions, and now we have moved tangible actions and listed them as a resource in the new Sustainability Planning and Climate Action Guide found on the website. The next change to the implementation profile report is we've made the Carnegie classification and climate zone data fields read-only. So we're going to now, Second Nature will be populating this data from our end with the hope of improving the data quality, especially around the climate zone data. There was a wide variety, and so we will upload the International Energy Conservation Codes climate zone categories to your appropriate county. The next change, we've added a new data field that identifies implementation liaisons' roles on campus. This will help to provide a clearer picture and faster breakdown of your institutional role. In the past, when we've done this analysis, we've depended on the title and department text fields. This, of course, provided a wide variety of responses, and it was difficult to segment where you were in an institution. So that is new. And then finally, the last update is we always had additional contacts that you could add to receive communication. We've now provided functionality to allow management of who should receive reporting system access privileges and who should receive communications. So that is the update to the implementation profile. The other updates to the carbon commitment reporting include we'll now seek an annual greenhouse gas inventory report. The greenhouse gas report will be incorporated into an annual progress evaluation. So moving ahead, again, all the climate leadership commitments beginning anticipated January 2017 will have an annual progress evaluation, but you'll have, depending on your commitment, you'll have different components of that evaluation. So for carbon commitment signatories, it will be a greenhouse gas inventory. It's anticipated that we're going to integrate what is currently in the progress report with the greenhouse gas inventory. We'll be looking to significantly reduce the amount of data fields that are currently in the progress report, and we'll discuss more on that process for creating this annual progress evaluation later in the webinar. And again, we're anticipating that this will go into effect January 15, 2017. The final change or update to the carbon commitment reporting is that we are now seeking or asking that your climate action plan be reviewed and then revised if necessary and resubmitted not less frequently than every 5 years. So for former ACU PCC signatories, most climate action plans were submitted between the years 2009 to 2013, and that would mean 5 years or more, those CAP reviews will be asked to be revisited or reviewed and updated at the January 2018 deadline. So just to recap, the updates to the carbon commitment include the name change, a streamlined implementation profile report, annual reports will be called annual progress evaluations that will include a greenhouse gas report, and that the CAP is reviewed every 5 years. Next slide. So moving ahead, here is a visual representation of the reporting timeline. This is mostly appropriate for a brand new carbon commitment signatory. It tracks very closely to what the ACU PCC did, implementation profile within 2 months, a greenhouse gas inventory within the first year, but it's also included in a progress evaluation, which are yet to be determined, climate action plan within 2 years, and then you'll review and you'll implement, and then you'll implement and then you'll do your CAP review 7+ years in. So this is for brand new carbon commitment signatories. Next slide, please. For those that have moved to the carbon commitment, many of you wanted to know in 2016 what you were required to report on. So this is the table for you. For 2016, there is no change in the reporting requirements from what you were used to. So we just ask that you look up in the reporting system what report you have due and submit that. And also please update your implementation profile, make sure that is current. If you do need more time or have questions about the report that is listed, please contact us and we're happy to work with you to make sure we can support you and your institution on where you're at in the implementation of the carbon commitment. So again, in 2017, this is where the annual progress evaluation will kick in with the greenhouse gas inventory. And then 2018, again, for most is to the ACU PCC, you would review your climate action plan and submit your revision if necessary. Again, just want to make that distinction. You're not required to revise your climate action plan. You're just required to review it and then revise it if necessary. Some other things in this table, if you had signed the ACU PCC in 2015, you're now carbon commitment, your first climate action plan would be due in 2017, along with your greenhouse gas report and annual progress evaluation. Okay, next slide. So before we jump into the reporting requirements for the climate and resilience commitments, we want to share Second Nature's definition of resilience. So I'll just read the top line. Resilience is the ability of a system or community to survive disruption and to anticipate, adapt, and flourish in the face of change. So at the heart of this resilience commitment and the expansion of your carbon commitments is formalizing community partnerships in order to anticipate climate and social impacts and thrive in changing climate and social systems. There's much more on why resilience and how Second Nature developed this definition in the Second Nature Sustainability Planning and Climate Action Guide. And the link in the slide brings you directly to the climate resilience section. Definitely worth a read and will provide a tremendous amount of context around the expansion of the commitment. Next slide. So we're going to discuss the resilient assessment in a little more detail shortly, but wanted to give a quick look at the resilient community categories, which are the orange blocks there, the 5 blocks in the circle, and the core components of an assessment. So the assessment initially looks at strengths and assets and does not solely focus on vulnerability. The reason being, if we look at vulnerability before we look at where we want our community and campus to be in the future, we may tend to assess our future vulnerability, for example, sea level rise or heat waves, based on our current community systems and infrastructure. Whereas if we want to reduce vulnerability to these impacts, sea level rise or heat waves expected in the future, then this should be in the context of community and campus systems we expect to have in 20 years. So it's subtle, but we don't, the resilient commitment wants to initially focus on strengths and assets, and then also look up the vulnerabilities to the campus and the community. Okay, next slide, please. So again, a visual representation of the reporting timeline for climate commitment signatories. This is certainly relevant for, we currently, I believe, have 34 climate commitment signatories. And this is your timeline. Implementation profile within 2 months. You'll have an annual progress evaluation, including greenhouse gas inventory, and your campus community, and reporting on your campus community task force or equivalent within your first year. Your second year will be, again, your annual progress evaluation, greenhouse gas inventory, and then your resilience assessment. Your third year, annual progress evaluation, greenhouse gas inventory, and your climate action plan. And then moving forward will be implementation, assessment, and then review 8 years out of your climate action plan. Next slide. So looking at the climate commitment in this table, and most of our climate commitment signatories were ACU PCC signatories. So I'm hoping this table can serve as a good reference for understanding the integrated components of your carbon commitment and resilience commitment. And there are hot links to the specific areas in our sustainability planning and climate action guide to provide you with more guidance and context. And again, that guide will continue to be updated and organized and provided with more resources as we move forward with the implementation of the commitments. So for the upcoming January 2016 reporting deadline, climate commitment signatories have the option to submit the report. You're not required. If you are already anticipating on doing it, please do so. This was also potentially, this could be your first climate action plan coming up due, and if you expanded your commitment to include resilience, you may want to slow down on the climate action plan in order to incorporate the resilience components. So again, it's optional. If you can, we'd love to have it. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But we'd also love you to update your implementation profile before the January 2016 deadline. So as we move ahead to 2017, to your annual progress evaluation, again, GHG, and some of those progress report yet to be determined data sets. And this is where you'll also report on your joint campus community task force or equivalent. So you'll have a year to do the following. As ACU PCC signatories, you have already developed most likely a climate action plan, which included community engagement efforts. So you should already have or have had relationships with your local community where you can begin to explore formalizing further partnerships around resilience and carbon mitigation efforts. There will most likely also be many other community partnerships that have been established through your faculty, such as service learning programs or collaborative research projects. So the first year to meet this joint campus community task force will really be assessing your current community partnerships and then convening an existing or organizing a new group to serve as your joint campus community task force. We do provide some guidance currently on who should be represented in this group. Obviously, people related to community planning, if they have a resilience focus, a climate focus, or sustainability focus, and then as well as risk management professionals, facilities managers, architects, emergency planners, for some examples. So we're also anticipating that this collaboration will be very institution and community specific, but the objective being is to coordinate together with your local community and leverage each other's expertise and capacity in order to move forward with your resilience assessment. So in some cases, your community may already have some resilience plans, and this can be incorporated into your commitment, or in most likely many cases, you as a campus may be initiating the discussion and are ahead in the planning. So incorporating your community into your commitment. So that's year one, your joint campus community task force. More information, again, is at that link in our guide. So year two will be your annual assessment, progress evaluation, greenhouse gas inventory, and now your initial resilience assessment. So we shared a few slides ago the 5 resilience categories: social, human, natural, physical, and financial. and then the core components of your resilience assessment. So looking at those categories, you'll want to understand your strengths and assets, look at your weaknesses, and then develop your indicators and where you want to be. So your agreed upon campus community resilience assets are specific areas you will want to improve on as you move forward. And then you'll also look at your weakness or and then your weaknesses and vulnerabilities will be areas you want to reduce or eliminate. So, oops, sorry. So understanding the specific areas, resilience assets that you agree upon with your community, you'll then want to identify the broader indicators or a bit broader themes that fall under the 5 resilience categories. And these indicators can include diversity, health and wellness, local food access, and then you would have more specific goals or targets that you would want to meet under those indicators. So that's really what this resilience assessment that you'll be collaborating with your community will be focused on. So then in year 3, once you have your assessment, you'll identify your targets, you'll identify your thresholds, you'll identify your mechanisms and indicators for tracking your progress, along with all your carbon neutrality targets and goals, including your academic and educational experiences, so curriculum and research, and then, of course, this is all community engagement, formalized partnerships that you're doing through resilience. Next slide. So we've covered carbon commitment and the climate commitment, which is the integrated carbon resilience. We also have the standalone resilience commitment. Here's the visual reporting requirements. Next slide. And so the resilience commitment has been developed for those institutions that do not want to make a public commitment to carbon neutrality. So if they choose, they can just do resilience. And again, pretty straightforward. It's already been covered. It's just this has been pulled out of the climate commitment, the integrated commitment. But the same areas as you move forward with the implementation will be reported on. Next slide. So now we want to just discuss the next 2 years or 3 reporting periods, and so you know exactly what needs to be reported on. So again, would ask that everyone look at your implementation profile report and make sure it's current and up to date. So that's for any of the 3 climate leadership commitments. For carbon commitments, report as usual. Look at the reporting system. It will tell you the report. Contact us if you have any questions or need more time. Climate commitment, your report is optional for 2016. And let us know if you do the same thing, if you'd like to have more time. And then resilience commitment, there's no report due, except if you sign, you have to submit an implementation profile report. Next slide. So in January 2017 is where we anticipate the annual progress evaluation. For climate and carbon, this will also include a greenhouse gas report. And for climate and resilience, this will be your joint campus community structure. Next slide. In 2018, again, the annual progress evaluation, greenhouse gas report, carbon and climate, campus community resilience assessment will be reported for climate and resilience signatories, and then the reviewed and, if necessary, revised climate action plan will begin for carbon commitment signatories that had submitted a climate action plan between the years of 2009 and 2013. Next slide. So, as mentioned, the annual progress evaluation report is in development. And we would love to have your experience and expertise to help us determine the metrics and help inform what a new reporting system functionality should have. So over the next few months, we want to convene working groups around these 4 areas: data metrics and reporting, resilience. So a resilience group would look at cross-region indicators and opportunities that are similar, and then opportunities for regional and community-specific indicators, as well as helping to develop scenario planning resources and very detailed guidance on a vulnerability assessment. We'll also convene a carbon offset working group. There's already a lot of work being done in this area. There was a lot of sessions on offsets at ASHE last week. So we'd like to convene a working group to look to have some coordination and best practices and do an update to the carbon offset protocol that the ACU PCC had put out in 2009. And then the last working group we're looking to convene is a focus on academics. Again, terrific work happening in this area. So looking for some coordination and best practice. Next slide. So one last note, so the data metrics and reporting. So again, this working group will be responsible for developing the annual progress evaluation and helping to determine the reporting system functionality. I think this is a pretty exciting opportunity. I hope some of you do too. And so as you see, the goal is to define the metrics that drive action and demonstrate collective progress for all the climate leadership signatories. And then the objectives would be, define the metrics with the network because you have the experience and expertise. Look at the other higher ed sustainability reporting platforms and identify the areas of synergy and differentiation. What is not being filled and what can we fill. And we've heard from you many times, we need to streamline, we need to coordinate, we need to collaborate. So that's what we will do with this working group. We want to allow flexibility in what data is reported. And then finally, we want to make it simple, productive, and useful for assessing your own individual progress, institution progress, and then also how you can compare yourself across institutions and communities and regional comparisons. So I will be coordinating this working group, the data metrics and reporting, and we'll be looking to kind of solicit and recruit for that over the next couple of months, and we're aiming to have that first call for this working group by the end of January. If anyone is interested in participating in any of these groups, please contact us offline, and we'll add you to a list, and we'll start organizing these groups. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jana now to wrap it up.
Well, it seems we're having some technical difficulties here, but maybe Steve, can you cover this slide?
Sure. We just wanted to leave you with the resources and opportunities that we have for you as our signatories. they're listed here. We are on call. Staff is here to help you in any way. We love helping you, and we'd love for you to take advantage of this resource to you. We put on these webinars. We have the climate leadership events. We put out publications, and this new sustainability and climate action planning guide that is a tremendous resource now and is just going to continue to improve. The leadership opportunities that the commitments provide for your presidents and for implementation liaisons. The working groups would be an example of that. We've had pilot projects with corporate partners. We want to continue to do that. And again, that's an opportunity only for climate leadership signatories. The reporting system, it is an old reporting system, but there's a tremendous amount of data in it, and we usually get 5 or more requests a year from signatory institutions of students or faculty doing research, and they would like access to the data, and we provide that to them. And again, we would love for you to take advantage of the data that you as a network have submitted over the last 7 years. And then finally, the eligibility to get national exposure for your climate sustainability efforts with the Climate Leadership Awards. It's been going on for many years now, and the last 2 has been collaboration with the U.S. Green Building Council, and a really terrific opportunity to celebrate your successes. So with that, I think we can open it up now to questions. I hope we've answered many of them. I'm sure there's many left out there.
Yeah, this is Jenna. I just wanted to thank you, Steve, for a great overview of the reporting requirements. I think it clearly shows how we're trying to connect reporting, which is very important for data transparency and action, but connect it to best practices for change management. And so all these resources really connect to getting your activities done on campus, not just reporting or fulfilling minimum requirements. So, Gabriella, if you have questions for us, please give them.
Yes, indeed, we have received some questions. So one of the first questions we have here is about who can sign these commitments. Can K through 12 be part of it, or how does one become a part of the climate leadership commitments?
Sure, that's a good question. The commitments are for presidents and chancellors of higher education institutions to sign. So right now there are 650 or so schools who are signatories, and there are similar programs, I believe, for K-12, and we have links to them on our website in the frequently asked sections, and we can follow up with people more about that. But these are commitments made by senior leadership, either the president or the chancellor of a higher ed institution.
Great, thank you very much. So we also had a question here about planning and the resilience commitment and whether that gets incorporated into an existing climate action plan, or if you have to write a new resilience plan that somehow links to your climate action plan, or if you rewrite. Just some guidance there on how to integrate resilience with current climate action planning.
That's a really good question. I would think it could take many avenues. We would hope you would be able to utilize your existing climate action plan and expand on it to incorporate the resilience components. But again, it's a planning and logistical opportunity, especially when you're collaborating with your local community. So depending on what they already have also created, whether they have emergency response management plans or their own energy management plans, so there'll be the challenge and opportunity of kind of integrating your climate action plans to include the already created plans amongst the community and campus. Sorry, it's kind of a long-winded and not direct answer, but I really think it's going to be campus and community specific.
Yeah, if you have an existing CAP and you have never done a resilience assessment, you definitely need to do that if you're working on the climate commitment or the carbon commitment. I'm sorry, the resilience commitment. If you're working on the carbon commitment, by all means, incorporate resilience into your climate action planning. If making a commitment is not the right step for your campus, that's fine. But we've seen many this is why we've launched this commitment. We've seen many climate action plans that have adaptation plans, talk about resilience, talk about how they're very involved in their local community, through carbon mitigation, through a host of social programs, through students and faculty, facilities, many different things. So the answer is yes, you probably need to rewrite your climate action plan if you are in the climate commitment or the resilience commitment, but it might not be as onerous a project from the carbon mitigation side.
Right, and I think there's already examples out there where there's the expansion. A lot of campuses had initially done a climate action plan first and then wrote a sustainability action plan, which folded in their climate action plan.
In fact, our guidance is called the sustainability planning
climate action guide.
Climate action guide, because that's definitely the intention, is to, your climate action plan, if it lived just for climate action, might not get implemented.
Great, and I would like to remind folks that in the first slides where we talked about some recent webinars that we've been sharing and hosting, the one about new resources, it does delve a little deeper into planning for resilience, so that's a good one to go look back at, as well as the resources that Steve and Jana were mentioning. So we have another question here that is in a similar vein. It's about resilience as well, and about how to define the campus community boundaries.
This is a very good question. We've left it open because each community, each campus defines it differently. For an urban area, we are based in Boston, and there's a lot of resilience work happening with the city of Boston. There's also resilience planning efforts happening regionally. In each state is going to be different. In Massachusetts, we don't have a very strong county-based planning system. So your region is going to look very different in how planning occurs. Also, how your campus connects with your community and what you think that is. We've heard from campuses that have really large land holdings in many different areas, other states, other counties, and so they may need to be involved in multiple processes. But it's really, left open for interpretation. I think, as we're going to keep on saying, this is not meant to be prescriptive, or it's better to do it in a certain way. Resilience is really supposed to be flexible for your own region and your own outcome. And we've created for those who are working resilience, we just created a peer support group, which I hope could really help share a little bit about how you're choosing to define those boundaries and what you've found successful. So once you become an implementation liaison in the commitment, you can talk to your peers about, making partnerships is wonderful, but it's also can be very challenging. And so talk about where people have found success in these activities.
Thank you, Jana. And I just want to remind folks that we can still submit some questions if you have any. If you go to the panel on your GoToWebinar that you're seeing right now, there's a section called questions, and you can submit them through there, and we'll be able to take them here. So the next question I have is about making metrics and data from STARS reporting connect or be applicable for reporting for the carbon commitment or other commitments, and where those opportunities are, what we're doing with that.
Yes, absolutely. So Second Nature and ASHE and USGBC and NWF have been holding monthly calls for months now, and at ASHE they did announce a collective goal of working together and finding these opportunities to support our shared stakeholders. So absolutely, STARS and our reporting system are part of that discussion, and we will be looking at decreasing those areas of overlap and streamlining the reporting for our shared stakeholders.
So I just wanted to mention, when I was a campus sustainability coordinator, I both reported to the ACPCC and completed STARS inventories. And, there already is stuff that is overlapping. If you conduct a GHG inventory, you put the same results into both systems. Correlating it so you're entering one box and it goes into different systems. I think that's where we need feedback from the community. I mean, that takes a great amount of resources to make a system like that. Just to have, enter the box in once, and it might really not be what people want. They might want more resources in terms of, implementing your commitment. So we understand that reporting has really high amount of time involved in it, but there is already kind of a lot of correlation, I think, with the content. So, if you're doing all the activities in your climate action plan, we aren't really requiring you to report on those activities that much at all. Those are often reported in STARS, and you can link to it in our current system. And so if you have good ideas for how that could be improved for the future, please let us know. But I think one thing, I kind of realized if you step back, there's not, that many similar actual data fields beyond maybe GHG inventory. And, we've been talking with UNH and with others on how we can, with SEI, how we can better correlate and use all of that GHG information.
Right, and that's the other thing I wanted to state. So we're focused on two reporting platforms, STARS and the Carbon Climate Leadership Commitment, or Second Nature reporting system. But obviously there are tools out there, Carbon Map and UNH and SEI and GRITS, that we will also be in discussions with.
Great, thank you so much. And it sounds like there's some interest from attendees here in contributing and being part of those working groups you were talking about. Can you just tell them one more time, like, what email should they contact us at if they want to learn more about that or be a part of it?
Do we have an email?
Should they use commitments at Second Nature or contact you directly, Steve?
If you have my direct email, certainly email me directly. We probably should have put our contact information up here.
It says you can just email commitments@secondnature.org. Yep. Or for any reporting help, we always use the reporting@secondnature.org, and
that works too.
And we support people through that. Whenever you need usernames, etc., you can use that. So feel free to email us or go on the web and contact anyone with any questions.
Great. And there is a question here about whether we recommend any particular greenhouse gas emission inventory methodology, or which one is the most common for higher education institutions. They give as an example the Clean Air, Cool Planet.
Right. That's the most commonly used. It's not called Clean Air, Cool Planet anymore. Clean Air, Cool Planet got incorporated into the UNH Sustainability Institute, and they are updating the Excel tool, and they have an online tool called Carbon Map. So we have links to that live on our reporting instructions on our website. You can also, if you go to UNH Sustainability Institute, you should be able to find it. So, and we heard that this year, for this reporting cycle, Carbon Map is working wonderfully, and people should feel comfortable trying to use the online tool if they don't want to manage the Excel sheet anymore. There are other tools, but I think vast majority, 90% of signatories use that tool from UNH. Are there any other tools and that's what I use personally, are there any other tools that you would recommend, Steve? Or?
Well, I just want to clarify, and I do admit I'm not 100% sure, but I believe the Carbon Map uses the greenhouse gas protocol for their methodology for doing the accounting, and that I'm aware of the Climate Registry also has their own guidance and methodology. So there definitely are a few out there. But Jen Andrews, if you're on this webinar and you need to correct me, please do, and I can send that information out.
We did get a response from Jennifer Andrews. That's correct about carbon map using the greenhouse gas protocol. So there we go.
Hey.
Thank you so much, Jen. So it looks like people don't have any more questions. So if you do have a burning question, now's the time to share it. And if you don't, then maybe we can share a few more resources or wrap it up depending on what you guys feel. Jana and Steve.
Sure. We can just show maybe a little screenshot of the updated reporting system. If you go advance one more slide. If you use any of the old links, if you have them saved, they should be directed there, but the new link is reporting.secondnature.org, and you could go in there and look at your timeline, at your implementation profile, all the reports that have been submitted. You can see the most recent report submitted by your peers, find a lot of great information in that reporting system. Again, if you don't have access, email reporting@secondnature.org and we can help you out. Also, the next slide shows a screenshot of our new guidance documents. Definitely go there for more help. Anything else that you want to point out, Steve?
No, I think that's a good overview.
Great.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. And if you have any other questions that you think of later on, you can write to commitments@secondnature.org or to reporting@secondnature.org, and I will be sending you all the recording and the slides from this presentation.
Thank you everyone for all your hard work. Good luck reporting in January or in the future.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jana. Bye, everyone.